Hey all, welcome to Soul Centered. I'm Rabbi Baruch Halevi, Rabbi B.
And I'm Ariella Halevi, and we just want to welcome you into Soul Centered, a center for grief, meaning, and healing. And we've been married for 20 years and also have had this dream of Soul Centered, and it's coming to life now of really offering experiences and both in groups, online, in person, and private clients to really help people center their souls. And we do it in two different ways. Tonight, we're going to offer you what we call the Grief Experience. So we'll get into that in a few moments. But we'd like to kind of explain just a short minute about what we do and what we offer, and then go into our program for tonight. I am the creator of the Divine Body Wisdom Program. I help people connect to their body and soul wisdom so they can heal emotionally, physically, and spiritually. The ways that I do it is that I offer three different ways of getting connected to your center and healing is really through your body, leading you in guided visualizations that elicit emotional response. So we hold all of our wounds and traumas and memories in our bodies, and it's about really bringing that up, especially right now. Anxiety and fear is prominent. I work with my clients to bring that up and out. I also offer energy work, which is through chakra clearing and Reiki and intuitive guidance. So I can really feel into it and see what you're going through emotionally and how we can connect it to your body and also your spirit, and then release it and help you grow and manifest and transform your life and your relationships to really be what you believe that they can be. So.
And I'm just the IT guy. So I'm just doing all the technical stuff.
That's very true.
And when I'm not doing IT these days, I am also guiding people through all kinds of loss, the loss of the world around us, particularly death, but not limited to the death of a loved one, and also soul coaching, really guiding people proactively in their life to find meaning and purpose and direction, regardless of loss. It's loss and grief, meaning and soul, and healing and connection. And so we're just really making sure that all three of those are covered. Tonight is the Grief Experience. We've done the Grief Experience before as a workshop in-person experience. And we decided, as the world has decided, to shift to an online format and move a little more, at least for now, to a memorial healing service. And we'll talk more about that. The Grief Experience can and will be a more of a workshop again, maybe like a Zoom webinar, kind of a group where you can participate. That's not what this particularly is. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we'll give you an opportunity, like us, to go inwards and think about those whom we have lost in life in general and now in particular. And it's not either or. Loss is loss. Suffering is suffering. Grief is grief. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to enter into an experience to open our minds, to open our hearts, to connect. We'll talk about loss and grief because it's important to talk about loss and grief. We're going to utilize some ancient prayers and some readings, a couple practices, rituals. Most of what I know is from the Jewish tradition. I am a rabbi. But everything we do is, as I say, universalized and personalized and modernized and spiritualized. And that just means it's accessible to you, and you are wanted and you are welcome. And if you don't understand some of the words, you don't necessarily need to. Everything is in English or transliterated. We're minimizing the Hebrew. But we do have these sheets, the Grief Experience. I put it up on both the Facebook group and also on the Facebook page, as well as on mysoulcentered.org, which is behind Ariella here. And it's on the it's on the media download page. So you got a lot of ways to get these words, but you don't need them. You have the words of your heart. So with that, maybe we'll get started.
So we're going to start with the first song, which is really about gathering in people all over the world. So it's this idea that not just friends, but not just family, not people you know, but also just imagining that the entire world, which does needs healing right now. And part of the reason we're doing this and starting with the song is that the world is in grief, and that grief looks different for everybody, But right now, there's a sense of macro grief. And so I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And whether you have, I'm sure everyone has lost somebody. So just breathe in and feel the losses, feel the collective losses, feel the grief, the heaviness. But also as we sing, let's invite light. Let's invite a gathering in of our brothers and sisters and our people all over the world. Just imagine holding the world in your hands. On behalf of my brothers and friends, on behalf of my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me say, peace to you. On behalf of my brothers and friends, on behalf of my sisters and friends, please let me ask, please let me say, peace to you. This is the house of the Lord. I wish the best for you. This is the house of the Lord. I wish the best for you. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai yai dai. Yai dai yai dai yai dai.
So again, drawing from ancient wisdom traditions, I don't care where they come from. If they're ancient and they're still here, that means they're timeless. It means they have wisdom that's been passed down. And again, I do draw heavily from the Jewish tradition. We do grief really well. And one of the grief rituals is when you go back to your home after you lose a loved one and you start the shiva, the 7-day process, you light a candle for the 7 days. And there are many reasons why we do it, but one of the reasons is bound up in the words of Ruth Bryn. It's a beautiful poem called When Death Comes. When death comes to the person you love, you will go down to the darkness and despair, and in the depths of loneliness will find your naked soul craven and cold. You whose mind has considered and doubted, whose heart has faltered, and whose courage has failed, will ring out the final personal word from your stricken soul. And death has no truth but this, I believe. Death has no victory but this, to rise from doubt and cold darkness, to magnify and hallow the name of the divine. And so as we go into the darkness, we commit ourselves to looking for sparks of possibility, sparks of light. It's a Kabbalistic idea. And it's symbolized in this candle. We're all going to or have gone through the darkness, and especially now. I know some of you who are joining in have lost loved ones recently. I can only imagine the darkness you're experiencing, maybe not having had a proper funeral because you weren't allowed to, maybe not having people to your wake, your loved one's wake or your shiva, and being comforted by physical human contact and interaction, or just the loss in general is darkness. And so we go into it with this light. And one of the reasons why we use light is because it says in the Proverbs, Ner Hashem Nishmat Adam, that the soul of a person is the candle of God. And so we think about the soul of a person, one light, and we can light from it. And we can pass right down the line of these from one to another, to another, to another. And if you obviously look, you've seen candles and how they work. It doesn't diminish the actual light source. This light source of our loved one is still there, still burning bright. It has just simply been transferred from your loved one to you, from you to your loved ones. And that's how we defy death. And that's how we defy the darkness. And so with that, we chant a Psalm 121. It's shared in the Jewish Christian tradition. It's on your sheet. It's about committing to finding light in the darkness. Esa Enai, Psalm 121.
And so before we begin the song, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And as we sing this collective song, a universal song of grief, we just open our hearts to our emotions, open our hearts to hope and light in the center of darkness, and open our hearts to the different forms of grief that we're all experiencing. For some, it's the loss of a loved one immediately in this time. For others, it's the safety, the freedom that we've had, and that safety net we've always had that has been ripped out from underneath us. That is grief. For others, it's the loss that keeps coming up, the loss we can't get over, the loss that we can't get through. And so as we breathe into this song, the song of hope, our eyes are looking towards hope, we just open to the words. And remembering when we sing the word of God, you can replace it with whatever feels comfortable for you.
And again, if you just joined us, the soul sheets that we're reading from are on the Facebook page, the Facebook group, and the website.
I lift my eyes to the mountain from where my help comes. I lift my eyes to the mountain from where will my help come? My help comes from the Lord above, creator of all heaven and earth. My help comes from God above, creator of all heaven and earth.
So the beauty of Facebook Live is that it's live. Some people will watch it recorded, but if you are live and you're joining us, we'd love to hear from you, share your thoughts, your insights, names. As we get to the memorial section, you can share your names of your loved ones. We're all in this together. We really believe deeply. And Soul Centered was created to build conscious community, people who are actively seeking to be a part of a community of compassion and courage and love, and that's what we believe we are. And we're delighted that you're on. Connie O'Connor and Brian Cohen and Jan Goldstein, a few others have been popping on and off, so invite your friends to join us, and we'll continue to remember those who have come before us. Maybe it was a long time ago and they passed, or maybe it's recently during the coronavirus or somewhere in between, but it doesn't really matter when. Loss is loss, but love is love. And so we just think about really the journey of the soul, and I'll be talking about this in a few weeks as we study it, but the journey of the soul, always there. Souls aren't created or destroyed, they change forms. So as they change forms, maybe thinking about this beautiful reading by Mickey Marcus, one of the founders of the State of Israel, supposedly carried this in his pocket. to remind him of life's precious journey. It's called I Am Standing Upon the Seashore. I'm standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the morning breeze and starts through the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and I watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of white cloud, just where the sea and the sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone says at my side, there, she is gone. Gone where, I think to myself, gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast and hull and spar as she was when she left my side, and she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at that moment when someone at my side said, there, she is gone, there are other eyes watching her coming, and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, here she comes, and that is dying. So our loved ones have physically left this world, and their spiritual journey continues to the next world. Their spirit, however, is always with us in between worlds. And so B'Shem Hashem, a chant of reminding us that spirits and angels are always around us and within us, and we can draw comfort from them.
So again, this time really sinking into this song, it's the idea that surrounding us are angels, and above us and all around us always is this divine presence of God, or the divine, however you call it, the universe, oneness. And that the way to tap in is to close our eyes. It's to go beyond the physical. So many people that we've talked to want answers and want to know and want to seek answers to why their loved ones are gone or the messages from beyond. And so the best way to really know is to close your eyes, is to feel and tap into your heart center. And finally, it's to ask. They don't know if you don't ask. So if you need more presence right now, especially, if you want to feel your loved ones surrounding you, I personally have asked my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, and my stepfather, and my dog to literally surround my house, to literally surround us in love and light and peace. And the important thing is to use your words, to speak out loud what you need right now, to gather in the angels and really ask them to be present here, because they hear you. You just need to ask. And then open your mind and your heart to listen when they come and send you messages.
Hi, Wendy. Hi, Jamie. Just joining us. We're using the soul sheet. You can download it. We're going to be chanting B'Shem Hashem on page 1. And this is taken from Kabbalah. Michael is the angel of compassion, and Gabriel is the angel of strength. Uriel is the angel of vision, and Raphael is the angel of healing. And so, like Ariel said, we're bringing them into our life as you bring them into your life on your journey, potentially through grief to light.
So open your palms perhaps and just really receive now. Oh God, dear God, God of Israel, on my right is Michael, on my left is Gabriel. In front of me is Uriel, behind me Raphael. Above me, the divine presence, Shekhinah. Oh God, God of Israel. On my right is Michael, on my left is Gabriel. In front of me is Uriel, behind me Raphael. Above me, the divine presence, Shekhinah. Yai, 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 yai.
So I once kind of just roughly calculated that I've officiated at 500 funerals over a 20-year span. And everyone is different. I've never done a canned funeral. I've never erased a name and put in, because everybody's story is unique. You have a fingerprint, you have a soul print. And yet there are some common threads to all of those. And what I think is beautiful is to find common threads. And one of them is Psalm 23. I think at every funeral I've been to, Jewish, Christian, otherwise, this is read. And I think it's just beautiful to have resources, rituals, tools to turn to that unite us. And so that's really what soul-centered is looking for, is the soul at the center. And so I know that Sam just joined us, Jamie, Wendy, some others are on. Everybody's Jewish, Christian, secular, doesn't matter, Buddhist, Hindu. This is a beautiful opportunity to connect ourselves around this unified force that has guided people through darkness for many years. So feel free to join me again. It's on your soul sheet, Psalm 23. Some of you know by heart. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy, love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Used to different traditional words, but it doesn't matter. The words are really irrelevant. The idea is important, and I think this has withstood the test of time, because it is, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me. And that's what many of you are going through right now. And if you haven't, you will, and if you aren't now, you did. We all walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and really the question isn't, are we going to walk through it? It's how are we going to walk through it? All right, are we going to walk through with eyes open, with heart open, committed to growing? We're all going through or going to go through the shadow of death. Are we committed to finding what is still right, what is good, what is there? When people tell me that their loved one died, I say it's not true. Their body died. So let's just be specific, and it's painful, and I don't want to diminish that, but the love, the memories, the feelings, the values, they're very much alive and well in you. And so really kind of feeling the loss and acknowledging what isn't there, but also opening our eyes to what is there. There's a beautiful poem turned into a song by Hannah Senish called Eli, Eli, which is my God, and it's really that. It's about reminding ourselves of what good there still is in your life, no matter what you're facing. And Hannah Senish wrote this. She was a paratrooper, and she parachuted into the Holocaust, into the camps, and rescued people, and she ultimately lost her life, but not before finding good in the world.
There's also this idea right now that we're struggling with and dealing with, and that is David Kessler says it so beautifully. It's anticipatory grief. It's the grief that hasn't happened yet, but it's the fear that the grief will happen. It is the fear for your loved ones, and that is still grief. And so one way through this song, and also to remember, is the I amness. We've talked about this before, is the present moment. And I think this song really just defines this idea that we don't know. We are literally in the unknown. And for those of us that are control freaks or that really thrive on safety, this is really scary. This is a really scary time, and grief is in the air. But we don't know when this will end. And so this idea is to take the present moment and sit in what is right here, right now. All we have is right here and right now. And so this prayer, the song, helps us, reminds us that please don't let me forget the beautiful sounds of the sea and the rush of the water, and our children playing outside, and our children arguing one minute, but then laughing the another minute. So remembering that this moment is all we really have. Oh God, my God, I pray that these things never end. the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of man, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of man. Yai-dai, 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 yai-dai-dai-dai-dai. Yai-dai-dai-dai-dai. Yai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai. Yai-dai-dai-dai-dai.
So we'll go into Kaddish, which is an ancient prayer. We're going to do just an alternative version of it. It's very accessible. It's on your handouts, just 2 lines, Hebrew and English. We'll share some names. If you have names, you're welcome to share them with us right now if you want to have us read them. Otherwise, you can just say them. I think this is an opportunity not only to remember those right now who you're mourning, but also to remember those who give you strength. Maybe it's not so recent. Maybe you're no longer in a mourning period or what you consider a mourning period, but just somebody who really you turn to during these times. For me, I can just go to my dad and my best friend, Mark, and I see myself with them. Every morning I just have this kind of powwow in the morning, just seeing myself holding hands with both of them, and it gives me a sense of strength to get through my day at a time when sometimes it just doesn't know, what the day is going to hold. So it's an opportunity, and Ariel will take us into the Kaddish.
Yikadav ve'yikadash Shemei Rabbah Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam u'me'yamaya Yikadav ve'yikadash Shemei Rabbah Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam u'me'yamaya. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life.
Feel free to join in Shalom.
Shalom.
Lisa, our thoughts are with you.
Shalom.
Marlene Demko, who passed away 2 weeks ago.
Shalom.
We say shalom together to each other and to you. Shalom. 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 We have many things going on during the week. Every night you can just see the lineup. I'm not going to say it, but this is the Grief Xperience. And so we've really focused on grief and loss, and specifically the loss of a loved one, though there are all types of losses. And we'll have the loss experience some other time. But just thinking about those who came before us and paying tribute to them. That's what we've been doing. If you just tuned in, that's what we are doing now. And here's a beautiful prayer that I think takes us right into the heart of memory and how we can draw upon memory as a source of strength. It's called We Remember Them. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, like right now, we remember them. In the blueness of skies and the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick of heart, we remember them. When we have joys and special celebrations we yearn to share, we remember them. I would just add, when we are in times like the coronavirus, times of difficulty and unknown, uncertainty and doubt, we remember them. Because as long as we live, they too shall live. For they are part of us. They are part of you as you remember them.
I just want to say before we end, just a personal story. I remember really at this time, my grandmother just passed about 3 weeks ago, and she, I believe, is reunited with my grandfather who passed away 28 years ago. And one of the beautiful things about asking the people that we consider our strength, our rock, about really asking them to come forth right now and in general, is to then be open to when they give those signs to you. And it's so comforting to know that they are still a part of our lives. As Baruch said, he sits in meditation with his loved ones, and I ask for signs and messages in my meditation, and I receive them in meditation, but I also go out during my day and I'm open to not just the physicality of who I am in the world, but also my spiritual self. And so this weekend, I came home from walking my dog, and my husband said, it's so cute. Aviv, who's our youngest, who's walking around singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and he won't stop, and he's just singing it all morning. And I got tears running down my eyes because that was the song that my grandparents got married to in their wedding. I just found that out. That was the song we played at her funeral. That was the song we played at her death when she was dying.
2 weeks ago.
About almost 3 weeks ago now. And so I just felt the presence. I asked, and I felt the presence of my grandmother through the song of my son, through him singing. So there are messages and loved ones out there that want to come and visit and protect us right now, especially. So use the power of your voice and your prayer.
And maybe, we're going to do the soul experience on Thursday night. This is the Grief Experience. Tomorrow night's the meaning experience, healing experience, and then Thursday night's the the soul experience. And maybe we'll focus on that, right? Drawing upon spirit. A lot of people, especially Jews, don't really understand what the Jewish tradition has to say, what they believe. But we really believe deeply that the soul survives. And that at times like this, soul's spirit makes themselves known. And we can draw on that as a source of strength at a time where we need strength. So join us on Thursday night. But for now, we'll end with this idea of returning. Our soul returns from the world beyond to this world, and from this world to the world beyond, and back and forth. Every night the Kabbalists teach us when we go to bed, our soul leaves our body and we go up and we commune. We are with our loved ones again. And so just thinking about returning, and also as you are journeying through grief and loss, returning to life. And everything we've said tonight is all about life, light, love, and legacy. That's what this is about, and that's the journey you're on, no matter how dark it feels, and it is. It won't be dark forever, not if you continue to focus on life, love, light, and legacy, and asking the divine to help you return.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are born and reborn again. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
So again, welcome to everybody. We are now ending. I'm glad you joined us, at least for the very end, Asher, Tammy. We're going to be doing the Grief Experience every Tuesday night. Again, we have a different lineup every night, different theme. One's Kabbalah, one's healing, one's meaning, one's grief.
Tomorrow night, I'll be leading the healing experience at 7 p.m. And we're really going to focus on how to...
7 p.m. Mountain Time.
7 p.m. Mountain Time. We're going to dive into stress and anxiety and find tools and help you discover how to release stress and anxiety as the waves come up and come in. We're going to help you release those waves through different techniques and tools. So join me at 7 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow night, Wednesday night.
And again, I guess now we have our theme. So Thursday we'll talk about the soul, the soul's journey, and drawing upon soul, talking to soul spirit as the source of guidance. So thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Thank you so much.
Shalom, salam.
Namaste.
Namaste and peace.